Professor Jordan Gaskins, Professor Andrew Jones. How does that feel?
Wow. It's just a week ago, so getting used to it.
Yeah, hasn't quite sunk in. It's when everyone calls you professor, that's when it takes you back a little bit. It's like, oh yeah, this is real, you know. Feels great though, you know. Kind of just looking forward to continuing the journey to where it's gonna go.
Yeah, it's different, right? When first thing you look down. I think every belt, right? You're a blue belt and you become a purple belt, and then you like, okay, it takes a while to like sink in a little bit, right? And then the different belts, but then once you start training, you're like, oh man, I got a responsibility in a way.
Right. I feel like that never stops at every belt. You always feel like people are gunning for you. So I know I was even talking to Joe before the graduation. He's like, everyone's gonna be gunning for us, but then it's like, well, everyone felt that way at Brown, and then
of course,
so just and you overcome.
And you have more tools, but I think people look a little bit more outside too, like guidance, teaching. Oh, you're a professor now, okay, like.
There's a respect. There's more of a respect.
There's definitely more of a respect
than like brown belt.
Yeah, brown belt. They know you can roll, but black belt, it's that plus the respect too.
Yeah. What does being a black belt mean to you?
Oh man, that's a good question. I think someone just that embodies the values of jiu-jitsu and the jiu-jitsu lifestyle. So. You know, I mentioned a little bit during the graduation, but, you know, the humility and just learning how to overcome and being in a difficult situation. And it's carried through to other parts of my life. So I think now it's kind of solidified and know that, you know, I can accomplish, you know, almost anything you put your mind to, really, if you spend enough time and practice enough.
Yeah.
What about you?
Huge accomplishment. My dad was a judo. He didn't make it to black belt. Trained judo, trained taekwondo. Didn't make it to black belt. I trained taekwondo, quit, and
as a kid.
As a kid, and just to see this through. My dad was my biggest supporter. I mean, being somebody who's black too, and training martial arts, I think it's great. I can't wait to continue and to share what I've learned too.
Yeah, your dad quitting. Did he regret like not finishing?
He did. Especially judo, because he really loved judo. My dad was a state champion wrestler and went on to do judo and taekwondo. He went on to be I think he was the number 3 ranked power lifter in the state of Wisconsin. Wow. And then he went on to medical school and became a doctor.
Yeah, your dad's pretty like, he's very like not like, you know, like Jordan's super nice.
Yeah,
and, you know,
together,
like but too smart, like intelligent, but looks like a beast, you know.
He was and 15 years ago when I was a child, he was just really intimidating, kind of like this mysterious figure, and now all of this has brought us closer together, and it's been great. He's I wish we lived closer. He wants me to train him, and he wants to come here. That would be his goal, but
bring him up, you know, once everything settles down, right?
Yeah,
bring him in for a class just to feel the environment, you know, on a Saturday or something, you know. Yeah.
So legacy, that's what I feel. I feel like this is continuing, you know, my family's legacy and the legacy of this gym, and
yeah. I remember your dad was telling you like stick with it, because there were some moments you were like, oh man, like frustrating moments.
A lot of those moments, and yeah, I mean, it's great to be here with Andrew, training buddy since I started, and it's funny, there's some guys that you get to know a lot outside of the gym. Andrew and I really don't know each other that much outside of the gym. But I know this guy's a great guy, and, you know, if he did call me, I would pick up and do anything.
I appreciate that, man.
But it's like...
It's funny, right, how that works?
Yeah. There's an unspoken language and an unspoken trust. And, I mean, so you're kind of a quiet dude most of the time.
You know, it's funny. People a lot of times think that, especially here.
Yeah.
But I use this time a lot of times to decompress. This is almost like my church, so to speak, is how I get a lot of my stress out. During the day, I mean, I'm a salesman, so like I talk.
I didn't know that.
Right?
When I have to, yeah.
That's the last thing that I
What
would have.
kind of
Exactly.
salesman?
It's a software sales, and I actually manage a software sales team. So it's pretty crazy. So I'm on the phone a lot of demonstrations, that type of stuff. So I'm talked out by the time I come here. I train at 7:30, so I'm here. I want to just get the work done, learn, take in as much as possible, and then I'm off. But yeah, it's funny that a lot of people have that kind of opinion, I would think.
I'm learning a lot about you right now, man.
How did you find jiu-jitsu?
Pretty funny story. So I was a big-time hockey player growing up. My whole life, moved to Massachusetts in high school to play, and my whole goal is play D1 hockey and then be in the NHL. That was the only thing I'd ever really, tried to do.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up down the street.
Oh,
Here.
no way.
Yeah, which was crazy. I started playing roller hockey in the YMCA parking lot by the mall over there.
Here in Burbank.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I got recruited when I was like 16, and I moved to Massachusetts, lived there for about 2 years. And I really was, going after the dream, and then it just didn't really work out. I was not quite there. And so I stopped, went to college. I had taken a year off, so I was a little bit older, and took a judo class because at San Jose State, everyone had to take PE, which I thought was awesome. So believe it or not, my dad actually signed me up. So going back to the dad, signed me up for judo. I thought that would be good. We were starting to kind of watch the UFC on, I think it was like Spike or whatever channel it was back in the day.
Those are the golden days of UFC, right?
It was great.
The man's channel.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, they had the Man's Choice
All the guys were
Awards
like,
and all that. Yeah, so it was wild. So
Wouldn't fly today.
no, not at all.
That was so. How many years ago? Like 10 years ago, almost now.
It's crazy how things
More than that,
change.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was wild. So in that judo class, I guess at San Jose State is one of the best programs in
for
the
judo.
in the world.
Yeah.
I didn't even know. A lot of guys in that class trained at AKA. So I met some of those guys, and then I went to AKA. That's where I started with Dave Camarillo. And that was at a time during jiu-jitsu classes where the UFC fighters were just in the 7 p.m. class.
Yeah.
So I was a white belt getting tossed by like Josh Koscheck and Mike Swick and all those guys.
Before Khabib, thank God, huh?
Yeah, thank God. I wouldn't have completed probably. I might not
You're
have
gonna
got the black
quit. Drop that blue belt. Another blue belt bites the dust.
So that was my introduction, and then Gumby opened his place. It happened to be less than a block from where I was living, and that's really where I kind of fell in love and stuck with it. It was small at the time. There was like 5 or 6 students when he first opened, and that was one of the first ones, and that's where I feel like really fell in love, I would say, and then kind of just continued all the way.
Nice, awesome. Yeah, because it was pure like jiu-jitsu, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not like, because like back in the day too, like there's a lot of like fight,
It's intimidating.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a lot.
fighters, and it's just like a different vibe, from like a normal jiu-jitsu, like quality of life kind of a thing,
Absolutely.
I believe too, like of course, like self-defense, and you should know how to fight, but like day to day, like you just wanna feel good and train, and not get have Khabib throw you on your head.
Yeah, it was crazy. But I'll never forget. I saw Luke Rockhold. This is like probably in his Strike Force days, maybe even before. He had like a harness on, and Bob Cook was holding the harness like he was like a Rottweiler, and he was doing double leg shots across the gym.
Yeah.
And I was terrified. I was like, this is too much.
Like giving him resistance, holding him back.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Did you guys wear gis?
Yeah, this was in the gi class.
Because Dave Camarillo was, he was hardcore.
Yeah, so he was there all the time, but he was gone a lot because he was also in the corner.
Right.
All those fighters. So,
Right.
Yeah,
You got to go back up and visit now.
I know.
He left there.
He
years
has
after.
a guerrilla jiu-jitsu place,
Right.
which is somewhere in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got to go up see him, and then Gumby at Heroes too whenever they open back up.
Yeah.
So.
And Jordan, where are you from?
I'm from Upland.
Upland.
California.
Okay.
Yeah. So
your
Upland
parents are still there, so that area.
Yeah, Upland was a big. There's a big fight culture out in Upland. A lot of cage fighters, and I remember going to cage fights in high school, just random in people's houses. The
backyards and stuff, right?
Backyards and stuff. A lot of that in Upland.
Yeah.
It's
kind of like New Mexico a little bit.
It's a little bit of the wild, wild west out there. Guns, tattoos.
All the
drugs.
Old king of the cage,
Yeah,
like
just to make the casino, right?
King of the cage, king of the cages, and
right.
gladiator challenges.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I stayed local. I went to college at SC, grad school, law school, San Diego, and yeah, now I'm in Altadena, and it's great.
Baby girl.
Yeah, new little girl. She's 2 now. Got to get her in the gi. Now's the time.
Yeah.
Now's the time.
Have you been balancing fatherhood and jiu-jitsu, or has you had to take some time off, or?
You know, it's been pretty easy. Jiu-jitsu, she's only 2, so by the time she was even a thought, jiu-jitsu was already, it kind of becomes a way of life, and there was no talk of me stopping. Obviously, as situations arise, I get home whenever I can, but it's like, all right, Dad's gonna go train, be back an hour and a half or whatever, and maybe come back with some bruises and walking a little funny, but it's just, it's been great. It's been great.
Yeah, cool.
What were some of the moments that you mentioned your dad, and your dad was like, just stick with it. What were some moments where you kind of got stuck and you're like, man, questioning like if you should keep on?
Yeah. Blue belt was tough. I had not major, but I had a pretty bad ankle injury. And I actually went to urgent care, had x-ray. It wound up just being a really bad sprain, but I don't know, sometimes sprains can be pretty bad. It took me out for about 6 months to a year, and just felt stalled, and I was changing jobs. I mean, the pressures that everybody goes through. Being an attorney, having the pressure of the billable hour, and that's a whole nother conversation. Yeah. You probably know about that.
Yeah, a little bit.
And trying to balance everything, it got to be pretty tough, but to just persevere and stick with it, and it's more beneficial too. Like you were saying, it's kind of a release to come here and not have to talk. And I mean, you can talk if you want to, but
even though Andrew doesn't want to. Like, I'm good.
But yeah,
train.
If you want to just train and let your jiu-jitsu do the talking. If you're angry, that you can talk in an angry way. But yeah,
probably helped too, huh?
It
to
helped.
have having the Legacy Glendale there for your schedule and stuff too.
Yeah, at least Legacy Glendale opened up. That it was a couple blocks from my job, and that's when that was about 3 years ago.
I think 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Yeah, that was
Time
when
flies,
it was getting particularly difficult because the baby girl had just been born, so that made it really easy. Convenience is a big thing, but it's worth it
With time, yeah.
Yeah.
Time restrictions and stuff.
Yeah.
Man, we had talked like when all the protests happened and stuff, and bring that up,
Yeah.
just because my best friend's his partner Elliot Marshall, his dad is black and his mom's Jewish, and he did a town hall. I don't know if you ever heard of a guy named Tyrone Glover. He's black. He's he was from Paragon. Really good, smart guy too, attorney as well. And his mom, I think she got accepted to Harvard. Super smart, and he had them on and his dad as well, Elliot Marshall's dad. So he had like a town hall. It's on YouTube. You should probably it's really good, And it was super interesting because you think like, oh, it's in the past, and then they start telling stories, for like Ellie's dad, like you get pulled over, like you have to worry about something happening. And he's like straight guy, and then he would always worry about his son just doing whatever. But then hearing the stories of Tyrone's mom, she was the first kid to go to school. When they put the white kids in the when they, what do you call it, the
Integration.
Integrate,
right, integrating them,
Integrated the schools.
it's integrating the schools, so she was like, they could choose, and her parents chose to put her in that.
Yep.
And so she was like, her and like another girl, I think, were the only black kids in the school. So like the teachers treated her differently. And that was his mom, That's crazy. That was like yesterday,
removed.
Yeah, we're not that far removed,
I mean, that's my history as well. My mother was one of a handful of first black women to I'm trying to remember the name of her college, but she studied to become a nurse. She was one of the first black women at her college. My dad was the only black resident in medical school in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, and that's where I was born. I was born in Wisconsin, and we moved to Atlanta, Georgia, just outside of it, Georgia, Stone Mountain. Lived there till I was about 3 or 4. But but my family's originally from the South, so we'd go Alabama, Mobile, Alabama.
Wow, that's like
So we'd
South.
the deep South, and so we'd go back and visit, and sometimes we make that drive from Georgia to Mobile, Alabama, and just doing that drive, we'd have to plan it to be out during the day. We don't want to be out at night. Be safe, don't speed. Everybody. I'm just like, what? Why are my parents acting like this? I didn't get it.
You were a kid at the
Yeah,
time?
I was just a kid. But now that I'm older and hearing what they went through and now my dad, obviously, I've talked about him. He's a physician. My mother became a nurse.
Yeah. I
have 2 sisters. They're doing well. I went on to become an attorney, and it's just, it's just a testament to what determination can do, and also having good family.
Yeah. There's a will, there's a way. Like my grandfather I shared with you, like my grandfather was Hispanic, and he grew up, in New Mexico. And he didn't let my mom and her brother and sister go to Texaco, the gas station, because he experienced so much like racism. Like the Texans, like white Texans would throw rocks and stuff at him when he was a kid, So he just experienced so much like racism, and that he just grew up with that, just that trauma, Yeah, he didn't let it stop him. He became an attorney. He went to politics.
Oh, really?
He was super successful, like real estate and everything else. And really, he did it so much for the community. Like he worked like pretty much pro bono for like 40 years of his life. Just helping people, setting up all these organizations and stuff.
Must have had a good couple of years before that
What's that?
to go pro bono.
And so, on top of that, he lost his eyesight. Yeah, he was real successful. The quick story, so he summarizing it, he lost his eyesight when I think he was like 14 or 15.
Completely.
So, add that in there. Add that in there.
Major disability on top of
right.
that.
And so, back in the day, they would, if you were disabled like that, they would send you to weave baskets. So he had a sister actually here in LA, and so they sent him over here to weave baskets. And he's like, I want more with my life. And so it was actually in a what do you call it? Reserve kind of a thing, So he wrote to his congressman in New Mexico, and they accepted him into college. Maybe he was older. Maybe he was like 16 or 17 at the time. And then they let him go to college, got through college blind, and then they took his eyeballs out. So he used to scare us when we were kids in Washington, D.C. And so he liked it there. And so he applied to go to Georgetown. He went to Georgetown, like law school, and became an attorney. And then he came back, and nobody wanted to hire like a blind Hispanic guy, everybody would like.
Wait, so they took his eyeballs? Did they
took the eyeballs out? Yeah, so he would wear glass eyes, and then he'd just be like, sunglasses and stuff.
Did he have a disease, or was there like an accident? Or?
They got infected, they got infected. And then
Something
today and age, it would have been fine. He could have
big
he would have been fine. But back then they didn't know, so they just took the eyeballs out. And it's like a cavity. He would scare us when we were kids. And but he didn't use that as an excuse, like I can't do this, I can't do that, But nobody would hire him, so he actually ran as an attorney because blind Hispanic guy, right? So that he ran to become a judge. And actually even tried like the guys who sold the secrets to the Russians, the Rosenbergs and something like that,
Geez, yeah.
And so at the local level, he tried them because it was in Los Alamos where they invented the atomic bomb in New Mexico. So yes, and then he just he did really well with other stuff, but just there's a will, there's a way, right? You can always blame others, right? Blame other people, and but he just work your butt off and surround yourself with the right people, and hopefully you have the right family. If not, you can get mentors, right? Like I think like jiu-jitsu is kind of a good
It's like a family community. I think, for a lot of people that don't have that at home or elsewhere, I think that's a lot of reason why they come here.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny too, like Jeff Glover and just a lot of I think a lot of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Black Belts, they have like missing father figures. There's a lot. It's rampant, right, in society today.
Boxers, a lot of people that get involved in the arts. Sometimes it takes that drive, I think, to really make it at the national, international level.
Something has to be messed up a lot of times too. Like you're kind of messed up, but you have that, that.
It's like fighters and comedians, they say, right? Usually have some sort of like a past they can draw from, and
they try to get like psychologists and like, no, don't fix me, man, because that's my fuel,
Right. That's how I perform.
Yeah, crazy. What a crazy year, 2020.
Yeah. I'm just hoping
the
next couple of months turn around a little bit, but who knows? At this point, we're fully locked down again. So
yeah. I don't know. Just wanted to say one more thing about the just all the protests and everything this year. The race. What's a solution that you see? Kind of. It's so complicated. It's like you can say one thing, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, I just think it's almost like the past 4 years of Band-Aid has been ripped off. A lot of things that we haven't been talking about or been talking about, but not really bringing to the forefront are kind of being brought to the forefront. Just without going into detail, the economic disparity between people of color and the majority of the country, and crime, going through running the gambit. So I just think acknowledgement is the first step, shine the light on it, and it's just been great seeing the movement.
If that's all it is, right?
If that's all it is, and that's where it starts, and as much as I think, the protest, it's not perfect, but it was about shine the light on it, and hopefully we can move forward.
Yeah, it just sucks. Like a lot of the stuff, like people like not even like it's just criminal, like just guys doing looting and just burning stuff down.
Yeah, it went from I think in some cases, went from having good intentions, and then some people, took advantage.
Some people,
of that,
that aren't even
bad apples don't even care about the cause.
They're
just see time for anarchy.
And that detracts from the message, and that's unfortunate, but I think the message remains.
Yeah.
The message still remains.
People are talking about it in, everyday use now. So it's good.
My law firm has and you're seeing it. Companies, firms, they're appointing diversity divisions. We'll wait and see what comes of it, but it's something.
Yeah.
It's something.
People are talking, and that's good.
Yeah.
I ended up watching that. There's a movie, documentary, 13th Amendment.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have seen that.
So I started watching some things because of all the things happening. I was like, man, and then people tell you, and then I watched the just how it's pretty crazy, and it's like somewhere not too far away from from that.
And all that stuff goes deep.
Like now, right? It's like right now with all the jails, and it's just crazy.
Yeah, the prison population, and some of the we could have a whole series of discussions about it. Sure. But what I'd like to see happen is happening. The beginning of it is happening, and I'd like to see more people of color in martial arts too. I think it's a great pathway to just really get to know yourself as a better. It makes you a better person. It breaks you down at a physical level and emotional level. You grow from it. So we'll have to figure that out.
Yeah. Do you ever experience any racism on the mat?
No, I haven't, and
That'd be a dangerous place to
how do you do that?
And I've been lucky enough to travel to countries where they don't even speak English. I've walked in the gyms in Italy and like some interesting places in Florence and in Japan, and I just walked in. They didn't even speak English. I rolled with guys, and no racism at all. Definitely not. And that it's a testament to the community. I gotta say.
Jiu-Jitsu is the solution.
There it is.
Everyone needs to do it.
Just train Jiu-Jitsu.
It'd probably be healthier if they did.
You know, it's
too,
interesting,
right?
like in
Yeah.
Brazil, right? You know, like it's very mixed culture, you know, and that's it. You know, it's like such an equalizer. I mean, like there, it's more like social, right? Like, you know, somebody really wealthy,
Yeah,
or
class system.
class,
Yeah.
classes. But like when you're on the mat, like everybody's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's
I
your
will say
human
when I was
spirit.
playing soccer though, I did experience some racism. People said some stuff to me on the soccer field. But no, never on the mats. Never.
It's interesting. You don't have to hold yourself accountable on the field, I guess, right? You're not going to get choked out if you. Was that here?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, soccer. It was Zidane, right? In the French
Yeah.
soccer star, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, just so many. Yeah, it's easy to like do those.
Yeah.
You know, but jiu-jitsu, like, just it's that human connection, you know,
Right.
that trust, you know, on the mat. You're trying to choke each other and armbar each other, but
It's a mutual respect.
It's a
have.
respect.
Doesn't matter where
yeah.
you came from or who you are.
yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. Jiu-jitsu, train jiu-jitsu. What would you like to see? What's your goal with training jiu-jitsu? Being a black belt.
Yeah. I really want to fine-tune my game a little bit more. I still think there's areas where I need a lot of improvement, specifically like the leg stuff, as that's really blown up over the last few years. And when I started, no one was doing leg stuff. So the game evolved while I was training. So I'm trying to catch up. So I think that part of it too. And then eventually I think I'd like to start teaching and share some knowledge too down the road. But, you know, we'll get to that.
It's time for that.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, just continue to train. I like to hopefully soon I can go back to visiting gyms. I like to do that. Meet new people, train with other training partners. I always enjoy that. And yeah, you know, eventually I'd like to share some of the knowledge that I've gained that you've taught me, and that'd be an ultimate goal at some point. Maybe
Team up. Huh?
yeah, we
there we go.
could team up.
Yeah, I always think of like for you guys, like I want you guys to like be your best at every age, you know. And I feel like jiu-jitsu is like a fountain of youth thing. Of course, with tac fit, you know, you got to do tac fit.
Get that
It needs
mobility
it.
going.
Yeah, the mobility
Oh,
and
yeah.
the movement and moving all the directions, because it's hard to control that when you have an opponent, you know. But tac fit's just yourself. It's the same kind of a thing, you know, but it's with yourself. And yeah, you really balance out your body and mind and everything else. But yeah, I want to see you guys being your best at every age, staying healthy at every age, every decade, you know, 40s, 50s,
Decade
60s,
getting
whatever,
better.
until,
Yeah.
you know, just be on the mat and be an example, right, of health and yeah, just doing all the for our kids and grandkids, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Hopefully we keep reproducing, you know, with all this
Yeah.
artificial intelligence and everything else, you know.
Yeah. We'll be
But-
microchipped soon.
Right.
It's probably already are.
That's 2020. I'm like, did Skynet already take over?
Oh, it feels like it sometimes. It's Facebook though.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if you keep training jiu-jitsu, I feel like the rest of your life you try to keep healthy. And so I know if I'm training 2-3 times that week, I'm not gonna like drink heavy. I'm not gonna eat junk food. So it keeps everything else in line. So the longer I keep coming, I think the rest of life will kind of follow.
Yeah, and going back to tac fit, you have to do some sort of restorative strength. I think especially as you get past 35, 40. I don't know where you are.
32.
Oh, you're not even past 35. Yeah.
Don't let the bald head fool you.
Yeah, I didn't say it. It looks good on you. But
I knew, and
Not
I knew,
everybody can pull it
when you
off.
still had hair.
Jason Statham kind
yeah,
of.
it's my idol.
But you start now.
Yeah.
I mean, tac fit, yoga, like whatever it is, you gotta. And I would put more emphasis on that than the heavy lifting.
Oh yeah, I haven't lifted heavy in quite some time. I don't want to say the good thing about the pandemic, but in the beginning when everything was closed, I took that time to start doing some yoga, and I knew once we'd be back, I'd be in trouble if I didn't keep myself.
Yeah.
And it's something I never done. So I was flexible and I was getting in. I think it helped a little bit, and it wasn't.
What I love about TAC Fit, it's like warrior. I never got into like yoga per se, like yoga. I did some classes, but I just never into it, you know. But TAC Fit's like warrior, like stuff, you know, like movement and stuff.
Yeah,
and
it's
then,
like a mainly
club
version
bells.
of
Yeah, like
yoga, for sure.
Hey! I'm a yogi. Don't knock yogi. I did TAC Fit too. I've been doing yoga for 10 years. My wife was an instructor, and yeah, that was kind of one of the selling points in the beginning. But
that makes sense.
But
you got your reps in.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
this is cool.
Yeah,
of course that helps.
The yoga community is not, it's not bad in Silver Lake. That's where she was.
No, I love
Echo
yoga. No,
Park.
I was kidding. I love yoga. I love like just the
breathing and the whole
I just
vibe.
love like I love like.
But it's not for everybody.
I love like it's so complete, we do gymnastic rings and just all the tools that we use too,
but there's parallels. A lot of the moves that we do in TAC Fit.
Like you're very in tune with yourself because of the yoga experience.
Yeah, it was easy for me.
And
to
it
pick
is
up.
yoga. It's like yoga. It's like moving yoga. It's yoga. You
Yeah.
stretch out at the end of class, and you were very dialed in, and that totally helped. With I'm sure it's helped you in your jiu-jitsu as well.
Oh yeah, in everything in life too. So let me ask you something. How did you get your girls to get so into jiu-jitsu? How were you able to do that?
So my girls, they've always been around it since they were like probably as far as they can remember. We had like the pizza parties and with the kids and all these different things. And one of my daughters, she has a lot of natural ability. And she was the one, she said she wanted to compete. She's the one that she wanted it. So I'm just supporting it now.
And it's crazy. One of them looks just like you, and the other one looks like your wife.
Yeah. So and then they try to get out. They say when they want to do something, and then they want to get out of it. Oh, I don't feel like it today. Oh, I have my cousin coming over. Oh, I have my friend coming over. And I'm like, and then I have to be like, no, you're gonna follow through with it. So that's the battle, right? Every week.
No, that's good. Yeah.
And then of course 2020 happened where there's no tournaments and things like that. But got to just keep on keeping on, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
so it's cool because they're all learning it, and I don't care if how good they are. I just want them to have this a part of their lives, and I tell them that that's gonna be one of my things I want to give to you. I want them to be black belts. I want them to
someday, and you can come back to it. Yeah.
Like how you were talking about the things that you eat good because you want to feel a certain way. And I talked to Chris Brunosabati. I did a thing with him a couple days ago. Just got his we're a professor, Chris Brunosabati. KB. And him being in the military, right, in the Navy, and hospital corners when he makes his bed every morning, things like that, And that's one of the things I think.
Discipline, the routine.
That routine, that discipline, and it's a part of who you are. Like you got married, you daughter, but it's so kind of already like your routine. That's just like understood. Same thing with you, and I think that's one of the things I look at. Like, he's there. Because it's the way of life, right? You've embraced like this way of life.
You've already bought in. You've committed to it over the years of repetition and practice, and you know what works for you, and you continue it.
It was my wife's idea.
To get
married. Eventually I bought in, but it took a little encouragement.
Yeah, it took me some time.
Edit that out.
Oh man, it's 15 years. 15 years.
Congratulations.
I know. Done it for 20 years.
Yeah. So okay? Oh, that makes me feel better. I waited like 5 years before I proposed. So
it was a thing with I wasn't like Armenian. What's that?
I didn't know you were married.
Fiance, not yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We'll get there. If we can get more than 10 people at a gathering.
Oh my God.
2022.
Yeah, we'll push it.
What were you saying?
No, just like it took longer, but it's whenever you're ready, you're ready.
Yeah.
Whenever it's right, it's right. It's like it's only your timeline,
Yeah.
your guys' timeline. I don't know. Nobody needs to rush anything. I think
That's right. Thank you.
Plenty of time.
So you're sales. You're in sales.
Yeah. So
That's the last thing I would have thought. It's right.
yeah, and not only so I started.
And he trains the sales team.
Sales
Somehow it
manager,
makes sense. Somehow it makes sense.
You know, it's the same. It's a lot of the same principles, and I think a lot of the success is due to jiu-jitsu. Because I've actually said this in a sales meeting before. If they bring up like training, I'm like, well, look, if I get choked out, you know, after that, what can't I do? And if I don't get afraid talking to, you know, CEOs or whoever I'm in the room with, because nothing's worse than, you know, fending off some of the, you know, the killers we have downstairs, and it's just carried on, you know. And I never thought I'd be in sales either. I guess I was a shy person kind of growing up, but I graduated during like the first recession, like right in 06, 07. So there wasn't any jobs besides sales. I started in banking and then kind of just found the software company. But
what kind of software company
it's like a market research software company. A lot of like consumer surveys. It's so niche and so interesting. But if you're like trying to reach a specific audience that you want to survey across the world. So a lot of like Netflix will use it to like test their shows. Google's using it now. I mean, there's a lot, you know, Procter and Gamble to test different toothbrushes or toilet paper or whatever, do different product testing, logo testing. And it's like a DIY software that just connects the buyers and the sellers basically. So
Gotcha.
yeah, pretty weird and pretty niche. And I had no idea it even existed before I got into it, but here I am. So it's actually the same week I hit my 7-year anniversary there, and then the black belt. So it's a pretty good week for me, actually. Yeah,
Nice,
thank you.
congrats, man. Yeah. I had one of my black belts. He was like a chemical engineer, super smart, up in Los Alamos, New Mexico.
You never know who you're gonna meet
Right.
on the mats. You never know.
And then he changed his career and became an investment banker. He lives in Texas now. And all the guys in on his black belt speech he spoke about this. And all the guys were, you know, a lot of the guys were, you know, to deal with the stress, they'd have to like, you know, drink or take drugs or whatever to deal with the stress. And he's like, not me. I didn't have to do it. I was fine. I was like, are you stressed out? I'm good, you know. And he's like, you know why? Because of jiu-jitsu. That's what he said in his speech.
I think that's 100% accurate. Like, I'm so calm because of this, you know, and just nothing's gonna get to me anymore.
After you have Professor X doing the cowboy mount on you.
Exactly. I'm good, yeah. Or just a Rock Lee putting me in a pretzel.
Rock Lee, yeah,
you know. Every day you get humbled, you know, even at every level. You know, that's what's good. You know, you have to keep growing, keep evolving, because there's always someone better,
right,
you know, at every level, really.
Right.
So.
Makes you
There's
better.
definitely levels to this.
Yeah.
We're at the first level, but
What about you, Jordan? With
yeah, same thing.
Sugar Bear. Everybody calls you Sugar Bear.
Yeah, I was just telling Marco and the guys downstairs. I got it. I got a new belt. I got it embroidered on the belt, Sugar Bear, on my black belt. And when I ordered the belt, it was like, oh, there's a section for embroidery. I was like, yeah, I'll get Sugar Bear. What color? Gold. All right, cool. And the belt comes. It's huge. It's like Sugar Bear, like all over the belt. It's huge gold. I'm like, oh man, this is pretty flashy. But hey, I'll grow into it. You know, it is what it is. So my first job in law was it was pretty tough. The firm was it was a mill. A mill meaning high turnover of attorneys. The people at the top, they were not nice. One in particular was pretty verbally I would say verbally abusive to some of the new lawyers, and I just thought that's what law was going to be. But then it was around that time that I really started training jiu-jitsu, and I was able to really separate work and outside life, and jiu-jitsu helps you do that. You can't think about anything else when you're training. You come into the gym thinking, you know, you have all these thoughts in your mind, but once you hit the mats, you have to focus. And really, you know, I don't think when I flow. It just, when I train, I'm not thinking about what moves I'm going to do next. They just come to me. And I think that's how it is once you get past, for everybody, once you get past a certain level, but you just have to let everything else out of your mind. And then I walk out of the gym, oh, you know what, it's going to be all right. And that was one of the big reasons why I stuck with it. I mean, it would have been harder for me to stop doing jiu-jitsu and do a high-stress job because I'm in litigation too, which is, you know, dealing with lawsuits. And sometimes my clients, they're going through high-stress situations. They're being sued for a lot of money, and it's tough. It's tough. Part of it's being a counselor too, right?
Yeah.
You know, I listen to problems. That's a big part of it. Because sometimes the outcome of the lawsuits, it's determined. You know, we're going to win or we're going to lose or we're going to have to settle. But if I can help you through the process, help you understand what's going on, you know, it won't be so bad. Jiu-jitsu helps. Jiu-jitsu helps. At that first job, I was sometimes criticized, Jordan, why are you so damn calm all the time? Like, I'm yelling, I'm pissed off. Like, no, go ahead. You know, it's really not that serious. You know, we'll work it out. Everything can be worked out. So yeah.
Nice.
Keeps you grounded.
Yeah. Keeps you grounded.
Keeps you humble, makes you a better
Yeah.
person.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because of it. What does your wife think about Sugar Bear?
Does
she know about it?
Oh yeah, she knows about it. She's not that surprised. She's not that surprised that I somehow obtained kind of a goofy name. Not surprised at all. She's very supportive too, I've got to say, because it can be consuming. You've got to you've got to find your own balance with jiu-jitsu, because you want to come train every day too.
Mm-hmm.
And time-wise and body-wise, you got to give a break.
That's another thing I'm learning. It's like, don't overdo it. Like, I'd love to come in 5 times a week, but it's just not possible anymore. 3 is the sweet spot for me.
Come and do a tack fit one time a week,
Yeah,
just to kind of
I'd
go
love
through
to,
the stuff,
actually,
so
yeah.
you learn all the into flow stuff. So if you get nicked or something,
Yeah.
you know the movements, what to do.
Yeah, that'd be great. Definitely.
Saturday.
Do that on your off days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a good recovery type thing, right?
Yeah, I try to do something every day if I can. Do some sort of movement every day.
Like Scott has the 4-day wave, right? So
Yeah.
you wave like your intensity levels.
Okay.
I haven't seen
You
that
always stay
one.
your best. Yeah. So we're trying to make
Well,
it
Tech Fit's made
packaging. We're
moves.
trying to.
I mean, it just keeps going forward. Like I did Tech Fit for about 2 years. A year ago, and once all this hit, I kind of stopped coming, and
Right.
feel like I've been left behind. I've got
I'll be back. It's there because I'm sure you do some of the movements. Still,
Oh yeah,
right?
I still do movements. Yeah.
Into flow stuff and all that. Because it's like you need it to have it. As if you, I think if you don't do jiu-jitsu, also you should know it, right? Because everybody has issues and stuff.
You always hear about
everybody's sitting
people,
down
yeah.
too much. Everybody's doing like the same kind of
Especially
things.
now, no one's leaving the house. They got to do something.
What's your favorite moment? What's your favorite moment in your jiu-jitsu journey?
Well, that's easy for me. I see you thinking. I'll let you think.
Yeah.
For me, it was Japan when I went and trained over there with those guys, and like I said, they didn't speak English, and it was just.
Where did you go? What
It
gym?
was Kyoto.
Kyoto. In Tokyo?
In Kyoto.
Kyoto,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Outside of Tokyo, and the name of the gym. Oh man, I wish I remembered I'm gonna look it up. But it was like I went on a Tuesday, right? And this was during obviously during a work week, and they started at 6 and they just went to like 10 p.m. and this was just a normal Tuesday for them, and there was maybe 7 or 8 black belts, like
Wow.
huge.
Kyoto is in the north?
Kyoto is I'm trying to remember where it is in relation to Tokyo. I don't want to
it's all good.
misspeak, but it's the kind of the cultural hub of Japan. It's got a lot of history. The most temples, beautiful temples. I mean, really, really old, elaborate. There's a golden temple, and it's literally all
Out of gold.
all in gold. I mean, it's amazing. Amazing hikes, amazing nature, and amazing history with martial arts, obviously. And just to go experience that. I mean, this was their Tuesday night. These guys were going to work the next day, but it was like, oh yeah, no, we're staying till 10, 10:30. I left, they were still there. And I went back a couple more days when I was in Japan, and it was just like, oh yeah, hey, Sugar Bear, come on, get on.
Sugar Bear. And they didn't really, did they speak English?
No. I mean, there were a few guys there who did, but none of the black belts did.
Yeah.
The guys that were actually
But it
teaching.
didn't matter, right? You understood each other.
Yeah, it didn't matter. Didn't matter at all. I mean, that was, and
The
that was
same, like
that was
this-
when I first got my brown belt. So I think it was also fun going over there as a brown belt. 'Cause that, it's not black, but you get at least
Some respect, yeah.
yeah, a little bit of respect. They're like, oh, Los Angeles. So they knew where that was from. I said Burbank. Oh, no, Los Angeles. I was like,
No Tonight Show fans, I guess. Right?
Alberto Crane. Oh, okay, maybe. But yeah, they're great guys. Great country. Yeah. It was,
I had a popular book, a couple books, but one of them went really well, like a jiu-jitsu book, back in the day,
Yeah.
maybe like 10 years ago or so.
yeah.
So some depending on the gym, I'm sure,
Yeah, they've seen it.
Maybe
or-
they-
It's funny,
that's
like
what-
that.
Everyone had
that
books back
funny,
in the
that
day.
funny T-shirt. Like I'm a big deal in Japan.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I was, I could have worn that shirt, that year.
You should have given that to me when I went
Jiu-jitsu.
over there. They're like, oh,
Yeah, I forget. What was it? Like, probably like 8 years ago, everyone had a book out. There was, I remember Caro Parisian. I had his judo for
Right. They were doing those. I forgot the publisher, but those are good books.
Yeah, they were great.
I loved the Saulo Ribeiro book, the University of Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah,
The Andre Galvão had a really good drilling book.
that's right.
There was some that book it did good, better than the Jean-Jacques and the Harley Gracie book at the time. So I was like, oh wow, this kid in New
Yeah.
Mexico, and they
That's
actually
awesome.
done it all.
Book,
DVDs, podcast, Alberto Crane. That's one-stop shop.
No. So
Yeah.
being in Japan for 4 hours training, and why did you, just because they were just so into it and just they were able to understand each other?
Yeah. It was the language barrier not being a factor. I've trained in other countries also, but this was a martial arts country. Like the focus that they had, and but at the same time, super welcoming. I mean, there was no hesitation. I'm just a random guy who walked in and said he was a brown belt.
But you were in because you were you brown belt.
yeah.
You were in.
And
They accepted you because they totally accepted you.
Yeah. And even though the language barrier was there, I stayed long enough. They're like, okay, where are you staying? I was staying at this hotel. Okay, you should go eat here. Come here tomorrow.
They're
You want to
hospitable, right?
oh, do you know about this? You need to see this. And that's the other thing. When I travel, I try to make a habit out of stopping by a gym because you get the real from people who live there and who let you know the good restaurants, let you know so that's how to get your significant other. Oh, you're going to train on our vacation? Like, what's wrong? No, that's not why I'm going.
She knows, yeah.
I'm going so that I can, wait till you get this
We're gonna have the best dinner
recommendation.
tonight.
Like, yeah, you're gonna love it. Oh, we're gonna go to this spot.
Hey, you instantly have friends, right? No
Yeah,
matter where you
yeah.
go, anywhere in the world. And jiu-jitsu has grown so much over the years, right? that
Yeah,
It's amazing,
good point.
it has.
Amazing. Japan,
Yeah, who would have thought?
you go to Japan, like boom, you have friends all of a sudden.
That's a bucket list thing for me. Yeah, it's amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Congrats.
Something I regret is actually not training when I travel. I travel, or did before this, all the time for work and stuff. Never brought my gi, so that's something I'm gonna have to change.
Do it,
ASAP.
yeah.
I just didn't want to stink up my carry-on suitcase with the the gi.
Get the
but
thin one, the summer one.
That's
you know?
what
Get that.
the light one, right?
Yeah.
So best moment for me is probably, I think getting my purple belt was probably the best experience for me, just because blue belt was a hard time for me. It was 5.5 years. I was in probably 4 different gyms. You started in San Jose and then moved down here. Didn't really know what was going on. It actually worked out because I met Professor Leonidas at House of Champions, and then I was at D'Artagnan's for a while and met Professor James and a few other people who ended up training here. So there's just a lot of kind of instability. I was still working at the bank at that time, and then I kind of switched. I got my job that I have now, and then I got promoted, and it was kind of just like a start of a new chapter, a fresh chapter. And it's kind of, I think, skyrocketed me, to where I am now. But
Purple belt here.
purple belt here.
Okay, yeah.
We always make that up. We always make that little speech, when people that get their purple belt, like the statistics is like much higher for you to get your black belt and to kind of go all the way.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I
5.5 year blue belt.
Yeah, it was a long time. And where you go to, when you were talking earlier about, having times where you're like, I don't know if I'm going to continue, like that was definitely the time too. It's just like, I don't know if I'm going to am I going to compete? What am I doing? Is it a hobby? But, the love kind of reignited again after that. And
What made you keep showing up? I remember those times because I have those pictures on the Facebook memories and stuff, and you had hair, still, at those times,
Really?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, it was thinning. It wasn't great.
You had hair, man. You had hair.
Well, when I was
when I first met you, you had hair.
When I was like 17, I had like down to my shoulders, believe it or not. It was glorious. I think I didn't have much going on after that. I was working at a bank. I was coming home. I was living at home too, which was a whole nother thing. So I had to get out of the house, or else my mom was going to drive me crazy. And she lives right by the equestrian center right over here, so super close. So I just needed to get out of the house, and luckily, I kept showing, and that's what did it really. And then the love kind of came again after that. But I don't think there's been any hiccups since, I would say.
How was it training down here at Legacy as opposed to where you started up north?
Oh, it was great. And it kind of goes back to what I was saying, that the game had kind of changed. So you were doing like Berimbolo stuff and, the 50-0 and 50-50 really I had never even seen. Back in San Jose, that was very much, is Henzo, I think it's like the Henzo lineage.
Henzo or Half up there?
That's Half.
Bay Area?
That's what it
Bay
is,
Area is Half, yeah.
So it's Halfland, so very old school, which a lot of my games still is very reminiscent of that.
Yeah.
There's levels, man. They say old school, but there's levels. Like Solid said, classic jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
It's like
guys like Hodger Gracie do the same thing.
Oh, yeah, it's not a bad thing having old school jiu-jitsu, no.
I just try to do the pressure pass and just keep it. And so that's where I learned kind of the base. And then here's where it kind of like evolved, and I started getting into some other stuff. Like my De La Hiva game, I think really kind of took off here, and just being comfortable on my back, I think in general, really took off here. So yeah, but it was crazy because 14 years ago the game was totally different than it is now. So I'm trying to catch up with all these young, like Josiah, at 16, just a monster. Was a monster now, but he was great back then too. But knew all this cool stuff that I hadn't even really seen, and I'd been training for at that time 5-6 years. So it'll be interesting to see where the game goes. And I don't know, maybe you have an opinion where you think the game's kind of headed. Maybe it'll make full circle and come back a little bit.
Yeah, things go out of style, go back in style. Nobody was doing closed guard for a while.
Yeah.
Now they're doing, things evolve and, go in and out of style, So that's why having your basics down, your old school things, certain things, they've been there for a long time because they work, right? And there's levels, right? You think like a triangle, but do you really know it, or do you just know of it, right?
Yeah.
And so, even like I hear like Keenan and stuff, talking about like Henzo, or how he said like Hickson was at purple belt, but if you're tapping from a triangle or whatever, or not being able to finish. There's levels, on every single thing. I don't know to criticize or anything, but there's levels on everything. So always being humble and listening and being able to listen and bring guys in, to get different perspectives too, which is I think helpful,
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, this is great. You had some legends on this podcast, and I mean,
we're following Greg Jackson.
Yeah.
Greg Jackson.
That's pretty cool. That was the last one? Oh man, I gotta listen to that. I mean,
all those guys are my heroes. You guys are my heroes. So I want to thank you guys. It's such an honor to be a part of your journey. I believe in this, in jiu-jitsu, and I believe in this way. And so just to share it with others and to have you guys really embrace it, like, it means the world to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And thank you so much again for everything you've done, everything you've imparted on us over the years. It's been integral to my growth, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, me too. Like I said, when I got my black belt, I had no idea what I was really getting into. I thought it was, come in and get a good workout and go home, but it's just become so much more than that. And I really appreciate it, and really appreciate you, and this is just the beginning.
Yeah,
it's just the beginning.
That's it. Thank you guys.
Thank you.